Oh, we need to record on just to remind you. We're recording now.
And Deb's not representing. I'm Bailey.
Done. Right.
Hey.
Bill's just on his way.
Hi, Lorraine.
Bit further right.
Are you representing today? Are you representing a team today, Lorraine?
Oh, busting.
Hello. Okay, so we're just waiting on Margot and Dave and Chris Shepherd.
Oh, she's going.
Bill.
I think Chris is working today.
Margot.
Okay, thank you.
You make it sound like the rest of us are slacking, right?
Yeah, that's right.
No, I mean, in a paid job.
Oh, paid. Gosh.
Margot's in.
This isn't paid.
No, it's not, Alicia. It's paid in love.
Right. Expecting lots of hugs then.
Hi, Margot.
Hi, Brooke. Apologies for being late.
No, that's all right. Are you representing a team or anything today?
I will if Jacob doesn't sign in.
Okay.
I think he's due to.
And would that be
also
Valley or?
Can Survive, so Central Region and Can Survive.
Oh, okay.
Dave Elliott tried to join just a minute ago, so I'm not sure he's gone.
Okay, so we started at 11. We'll just keep. Okay.
Are we about right for who we expected here? Do I need to
Yeah,
check?
no. Chris did say he was coming, so that was the only one. And but otherwise, everyone else is here.
Okay, well, at 11:06, I think we'll kick off our AGM. So thank you all for attending both in person and on Zoom, and welcome. Do we have any apologies that we know about?
Yeah. Okay, so I will just run through the apologies. We have Judy Pruden from President of NZDBA, Isaac Sutherland from Red Riders, Jan Gilby from Waikato Treasure Chests, Lindy Daniel from Wairarapa Dragon Boat Club, Tegan Killick from Tumeki Sports Club, Joe Tipping from Pegasus Dragons, Glennis Evans from Can Survive, Lewis Lind, Bay of Plenty Dragonflyers, Wendy Steer from the Free Dragons, and Jill Simpson from Boobops. All as apologies. Any other apologies from anyone else? Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Bill. Can you hear us?
I can indeed. Hello.
Hi. Are you representing a team or anything today?
No, just in. No team.
Okay. Yep. Perfect. No problem.
Thank you. So moving on, the AGM minutes from last year, I believe, have been circulated. Has everyone had an opportunity to view those?
Yes.
Good, thank you. Were there any matters that have arisen in the reading of those last minutes that anyone's picked up?
Could I just suggest that over here, it had the headings of each title and the reports presented and so on. Down the bottom it said such and such director with a name and who reported it, but in the top lines and chair and so on, it didn't actually say that, so it made it easy to read if it included their name up there.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
historical record to go back over who was running the ship at the time. Or,
So the chair, the secretary,
I can't remember the other.
Equipment director.
so all of them. Oh, equipment, PR, race official. Okay. Yep. Health and safety. Okay. Yep. I can amend that one. So I'll put the names from each of those report holders at the top of the title in bold. Okay. Any other changes?
Okay.
I'll
so-
move them.
Thank you. So confirmation of the last minutes being accepted, subject to the review of adding those names for the report holders, moved by Chris Stone, seconded by Noel Anderton. Thank you. Pressing on to the next item, which is the Board of Management Director reports for this year just gone. Again, rather than go through each individual one and read them, they've been circulated again, and presumably people have had a chance to peruse. I'd just like to invite any questions that anybody may have to any of those reports, just to field those questions now, and we'll answer them.
Dave?
Yeah, Dave, Alex.
Just around the, sorry, was Dave going to say anything, or am I able to talk to the financials? So there's the accounts are out being audited, is that correct?
No, we're not there yet. We're at the reports for the general reports, not the financial report.
It's
Are you talking about
the general reports, or the combined reports include the interim treasurer report for season 2020 to 2021, and it says accounts are being audited, but we also had a note from the last meeting in the minutes that the accounts were to be revisited for the past 2 years. Jenny to do the review and distribute it to the membership for review and acceptance. I might have missed it, but has they been distributed?
Alicia, I think that we've got that item as a separate item 6 on our AGM agenda.
Okay.
Can we just hold that particular financial to that
Absolutely.
point?
Okay.
And we'll just look at the rest of the reports at the moment. Certainly come back to that, please.
Have you got my cards? Wonder if anybody else was ready.
Card is there. So
So then, can I move to the secondary school policy?
sure, go ahead.
I was wondering whether or not that will be reviewed by the RSO delegates for acceptance.
Been accepted.
Who
Can
was
you
it
hear
accepted
Caleb?
by? Yeah, I heard him. So it's accepted by the NZDBA, but has it been accepted by the RSO delegates?
Delegates is in the voting panel. It's an area where we can take items and ideas to get opinions, not
Okay, so
decisions.
was it tabled to the RSO delegates to get opinions? Just because it really affects each of the RSOs in very different, unique ways. So I know for Auckland how it affects us. Has the RSO delegates had this tabled and discussed?
Not formally at an RSO delegates meeting. However, we have received a lot of feedback from the various RSOs individually.
You wouldn't call that consultation.
Not consultation, but it has been feedback provided around what some areas felt were limitations, and that was taken into consideration.
Okay. Can we move to have it reviewed by the RSO delegates? Because I don't know what was tabled by our region. I don't know, what was tabled by the other regions. I know that quite a few of the coaches who are highly invested in the school program have some concerns about it. So, the RSO delegates is definitely the ideal forum to take something that impacts each of the RSOs through to get, consultation so that we're all on the same table.
No, I'll put it this way. The governing body of all school sports, we had discussions with them, and basically what is in the policy hinders no one. It opens up everything for everyone. So there is
So are
if
you wanting
you're
to have
thinking
that
that
discussion here and now? instead
Okay.
of doing it? So
No.
you're wanting to have that discussion here and now instead of
There's no need to have the discussion.
Well, can you just explain to me why you think that allowing school teams to practice whenever they want, however often that they want, is more fair than having everybody doing the same thing? How does that logic
fair?
Yeah, let's go back.
No. Do you want me to answer the question? I'll answer the question.
Fair. Answer the question.
Fair is equal opportunity across the board. You have the same opportunity to train 20 times as you do 5. Just because there are some coaches that are unwilling to do that.
Or some schools don't want to do that.
That's fine. But there are schools that do.
I hear what you're saying, but our RSOs haven't actually enabled policy. Oh, sorry, yeah. So I hear what you're saying, Kayla, but there needs to be an enablement, and it takes quite a while to be able to enable that move and shift with your RSOs. So, in Auckland, it takes quite a while because you've got to go through, a couple of governing bodies up here to be able to roll out a change. And we have to roll out a fundamental change in our season and enable and open up training slots. And there's a price overhead for us up here because we don't operate schools without support boat. So that additional cost of a couple of $1,000 to be able to have a support boat driver who is on from 3 o'clock right through till 8 o'clock at night, that actually isn't in our forecast in our budget until term 1. But now we would have to have it in term 4. We haven't set up our price models or pricing structures or any of that to enable that and support it. So to have that, and I'm sorry if this seems to be a sort of a bit over the top, but to have that, we needed to get some consultation, make sure we could get the same timeline to enable it. I think this year is too soon to be able to do it because we haven't been able to roll that out for our schools.
So are you suggesting that you'd rather keep restraints in place than open it up across the board when we're getting feedback from other regions that they want to be able to train in term 4? Are you saying that based on the model Auckland uses, the other regions should be restricted?
I'm saying that we need to approach it together instead of, yes, Auckland can come on that journey, but we need to be able to set things up first to be able to come on that journey. That's why that consultation with the RSO delegates would have said, yes, we can do it. We need this much time to be able to do it and put it in place. But we haven't been consulted. We haven't come on that journey with you. So we haven't been able to set that up. So it will be an unfair because term 1 will be just for schools up in Auckland, which is completely unfair because the other schools, other regions will have been able to expand faster just because their models are different. We all operate very differently.
But also, Andrew, it's not an Auckland thing. Rick has raised it and the last Aoraki board put in place and complied with that as a strategy as well. So it's not an Auckland thing.
I think you got to look at the evidence. When we had open slather, and for example, Avonside started training in August, we ended up with 2 teams competing. When we went to the 5-week program 2 years ago, we had 12 schools, 16 teams. Last year we had 12 schools, we had 16 teams. So if you think that you're going to get growth in school sport by opening up as open slather, train whatever you like, there's no evidence to suggest that will happen. I think having a separate day for schools at the Nationals is a great idea. I like that idea because it takes a lot of pressure off, sweeps and coaches who are already in an adult team. The rest of it doesn't stack up.
Yeah.
So
I want to know how many teams we're talking about. Are we making the change for one team or are we making it for lots? Yeah.
The evidence that we got to make this policy in place came from the governing bodies of all sports that are in schools, not just what we feel in dragon boating. It is a multi-wide sport opinion that pushing everyone down the same path doesn't benefit everyone. It helps some people, hinders others, and then puts this other group that really want to be competitive in a pile of get fucked.
Excuse me, sorry. So was that Gary Carnegie from New Zealand Secondary School Sport, or it's New Zealand School Sport now, because his report that I presented to the board when I was on the board a couple of years ago actually said the complete opposite. It said to keep it to term 1. So I'm confused at how he has done a complete 180 on that discussion that was presented. So that's why we did change to a term 1. I'd also like to know what the metrics are. So how many of your schools are saying, let's move to this, compared to how many schools we've got up here, or the other schools in Aoraki and the other regions? You know, are we being driven by a decision for that benefits 2 teams, or are we driven by a benefit that supports the growth? Because at the moment we're seeing that our college sport is saying we don't want to have fierce competition, we want it to be about participation while you're regrowing your sport division.
Can I ask the question, where in that policy does it say this is about competitiveness?
It is.
It doesn't once
open it up
say
to,
competitiveness.
it's more
It literally
around,
opens it up to allow, there are 5 regions, 2 of which are here, they're the 2 biggest. So they have the biggest problems to deal with. Mainly Auckland is very much infrastructure, boats, time. Aoraki is the lack of schools.
Now, we've got 12 schools.
and we had 11
It's a lack of
schools
any
with
desire to
COVID.
go to a long program.
Well,
There are 3 regions.
lack of any desire, there is some desire.
There is
There is
desire.
desire from the
Yeah.
conversations.
I
Your
would
hand was
say,
up,
look,
Beth.
it can be done. It's just that we haven't enabled Auckland to do it. So for the first year, it's going to be totally skewed. You know,
So I'm just going to butt in there. So
Yeah.
what I'm hearing is I've read the policy. I was part of the decision to accept the policy. I'm hearing that Auckland don't want to do it. That's fine. The policy allows you to structure it the way you want. I'm hearing that Aoraki has an evidence there that it's not going to improve their participation by going to a long season. That's fine. The policy allows you to structure that the way that you want to do it. As a new region that doesn't have schools, Eastern region, also Waikato. All right, I'm not speaking on behalf of Waikato, but we're seeing what's working for you guys. I feel in Eastern region that's not going to work for us to restrict it. So you guys stick to what's going to work for you for participation, because I just heard someone said it's about participation in the sport. And if we need a longer season because our kids have never gotten a dragon boat, I really don't think they're going to steal your gold medals. So
kids have never
I
gotten
just
into a
think
dragon boat
that
either.
the policy is allowing each region, right? Is that not right? It's allowing each region to structure it in a way that it's going to benefit their region as a whole. And I feel that potentially further down the track, we may have to put restrictions in place if it starts once we get our schools in the other 3 regions set up, right? Just a food for thought.
And just
So-
to recap, so Evan, myself and Caleb met with the event director of School Sport NZ, and
Was that
had a
June?
long conversation about this. Nikki, whatever her last name is, Patterson, and her and the CEO have discussed this, and basically they said that we should not be dictated to by college sport or whatever it is in each region. Each region has a different school system. So here it might be Sport Canterbury, in Auckland it's college sport. Sport New Zealand, it's School Sport New Zealand is the governing body, just as NZDBA is the governing body. So our policy was about aligning with what they say, which is about participation. And that was what was critical and so important.
That's what the whole Balance is Better program is about. You know, it's about participation. It's about not concentrating on one sport too early and not having a long season that means you can't play more than one sport. You know, so and I know at least 16 different sporting bodies across New Zealand and particularly across Canterbury have adopted this Balance is Better program.
Mm-hmm.
We should be looking at that and refining our system around that.
And their comment was,
both New Zealand sport and secondary school sport around Balance is Better. And people often forget that it's not Balance is Better in sport, it's Balance is Better in life, education and sport.
mm-hmm.
That's where it comes in.
But in this particular case, it refers to sport. When you talk to School Sport Canterbury about it, Balance Better program is about.
Yeah, we
sport.
spoke to the ones who wrote it.
Have you
We have an
talked-
understanding.
Caleb, it's definitely a policy that has merit in it, but what I'm saying is it won't be fair when you come to race each other, for these schools to race each other in the next nationals, and I want this minuted because it won't be fair because Auckland's not been able to actually set up the infrastructure for that season and that season only, so that they will be limited to term one while others won't be. And it's that we would want to, but we haven't been able to. So
You
then
don't
it
differ
makes
from
it
any other
unfair.
regions.
It's an unfair playing field when you go to race at nationals. So how do you really sell that to a school that says, you're going to come to nationals? Yeah, there's going to be teams that can train for as long as they want. You can't here in Auckland because we haven't had time to set it up to support you. So, it's about supporting the regions to enable them to be able to support your policy. Just feel that, if we had been able to roll this out together, we would have been able to set things up in a timely manner so that it would have been a fair playing field.
Steve?
So I've taken on board what you're saying, Alicia, but you sort of got to move the objective a little bit, and is this an opportunity to reset and use this next year you won't have those opportunities, but it gives you the ability the following year to build on that. And at the end of the day, it's about sort of trying to build a whole lot of participation. You're trying to get these people to want to come back. So participation, get involved in some of the adult sports, and so you're going to have to do a little bit of competitiveness as well. So
let's finish there.
Yeah, so it might not suit you in 2022, but from there forward, it gives you the opportunity for your RSOs. Not all RSOs are in a position to deliver a package year round. They're limited because of other constraints. They can only do a 5-week one, but there are others that want to do more. They have that ability, and typically they start off in round Waka and things like that, and then they sort of migrate into the dragon boat, so they coast ship. And one of your arguments is if you limit it to 5 weeks, it doesn't stop a whole lot of teams going off and doing a whole lot of training in Waka anyway.
No, that's true.
So this just gives you the opportunity, instead of putting the constraints in there, if you're in a dragon boat and you have the ability as an RSO to support it, why put your 5-week constraints in place?
So the
I know it's not fairness, but it's
Steve,
about
I'll just say that our schools in Canada they adopted the 5-week program and they don't want to go back.
Might want to ask them
Not
again.
entirely
You
true.
might want to ask them again.
It doesn't
Yeah,
stop
we've
them
heard
from
otherwise.
doing the 5-week program, though, isn't it? If that's
So-
what they want
No,
to
they
do.
can, yeah.
And
But they can't have a mix of both, We need to decide whether.
Or how do we? That is another point that we've discussed. So the limiting factor isn't boats, it isn't policy, it is coaches and sweeps. So it's how much of my time do I put into a giving my time to a school as a donation to a school to coach them, right? If it's a 5 or 6 week program out of our lives, and some of us do it, a lot of us don't, we've taken that time to actually commit to that school. If you're saying, can you do this for 5 or 6 weeks? Yeah, no worries. Can you do this for 5 or 6 months? Forget it. My wife's not going to let me. No one else is going to let me. So that's the reality, is senior paddlers passing on their knowledge to our youth, right? That's what Rick is talking about of that compressed program, and it's worked for us. Anyhow, just to kind of wind this up, there has been discussion at the board level. We've talked about it in quite a bit of detail, and as you can tell, we're talking about this ourselves as far as the challenge. The key things to take away from the policy: Sunday is our day. So there is a school's opportunity for them to be just on Sundays. There's about half a dozen schools, admittedly, that have said definitely they are keen to train more, and that's because their coaches are prepared to do that. The other ones where we're getting on brand new, our campaign will not start them off earlier. They'll be in the other, they'll be in the 5-week kind of time frame. The question I think that you've raised that could be solved quite simply is, how do you have a fair competition for both of those cohorts? And we have discussed that as well, as far as whether we run a 2 split, which is these people have trained for longer, open class, and these people have been restricted class. that could be a way that we could do it, but we could take that away as feedback out of that meeting and discuss that, just so that we've heard you all.
Yeah.
And we can talk about that.
When did I send that report out? I sent it out 3 months ago, heard nothing from anyone. So, but to bring it into an open meeting.
This is their forum.
No. But
That's what this forum's for.
In all fairness, you know, we kind of it was handed over to us, and there was no saying, hey, look, we're going to review this together, or it was just given. And you know, I'm not the direct receiver of it. So, you know, unless you organise an RSO delegates, which I thought would have been the appropriate time to be able to call everybody together and go, hey, let's go through it. But obviously that didn't happen. So this is the next bit to be able to have an open forum discussion.
I'm saying it, but we could have had the conversation.
What's done is done. What's done is done, Caleb. So let's just look at.
Don't take it as an attack. This is the right process.
I know.
It's
but
cool.
I've had nothing from any RSO regarding this.
Because they're all asleep, mate. It's off season. So that's true. That's true.
There's obviously been conversations.
Well, actually, I mean, as soon as it was announced, a school in the Aoraki region said, great, we want to come back to sport now. That's fantastic. Who do we get in touch with? Who can we work with? And I mean, one of our paddlers in our crew is a teacher and said, I want to take it on.
And I'm not saying the delegates isn't the crew. Like, I just think it would have been a way to instigate that, is to say, hey, I think we need to have the conversation, because then coming in here and going, boom, exact same thing happened to you with the rep policy initially, remember?
Yeah.
So initialising those conversations through conversation.
It went through the rep RSO delegates. It went through
eventually
rigorous.
But, and I'm just saying,
but these guys are bringing something to the AGM report. So
we are going to be running an RSO delegates meeting in September. If you would like that tabled, then send me an email and we will put it on the agenda for discussion there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Can I suggest a point for that meeting is we run with the proposal. We have our first secondary next year, and maybe at the end of that we do a review. How variant was the competition? Look at those sort of inputs. Do we need to model an A and a B solution?
And create a benchmark.
I mean,
you've got to start somewhere. You've got to move forward.
But we've even talked about this, Steve, across 2 of our meetings and come out with different answers. So actually, I think we should formulate, because there is time for medals, we should actually talk about it around the RSOs and actually suss that out.
Yeah. I think you do your first secondary. Let's get for you. See how much involvement is.
You haven't been involved with schools.
But
respectfully, the schools lose their shit if the fairness isn't there. And we get that in the neck as event organisers. So it's just a case of a simple conversation for us to work out on this feedback, retrench and work out what the right answer is. So I think we take that feedback on board and take it offline, talk to the RSO delegates in September, then we move forward.
Look, I just want to add one last thing. We're talking about fairness, and I kind of get it that the schools are particularly keen to have a fair playing field. But let's have a look at what happens in our own adult teams. We've got teams that only train twice a week, have a big layoff over Christmas. To be fair, we should restrict all teams to the same number of trainings. Now, we don't do that. We've got a team like Southern that works their asses off 3 days a week on the water, 2 hours, plus other sessions off water. So we're not fair with what we do in our other levels of racing, but that's a team choice. The schools really aren't that different.
No, but the teams that we don't see at nationals just don't even bother coming. So they're the ones
I know it's a slightly different.
Wouldn't it be great to go back to how it was, where we had so many school crews and that was open training?
But my point is, we've got two.
Had 2 schools.
It was not.
I said go back.
Oh, way back.
Yeah.
Well, not that long ago.
But I mean, there's 2 options.
We didn't start, Rick, till 2007. So no, it would have been
just a point.
5 or 6 years ago.
There's an option on the table where we can accommodate both asks. So that win-win, it means that there's a restricted grade and there's an open grade, and actually everyone wins.
That would be amazing. That would work.
Because the event itself covers that what they,
That's the point. That's what I mean. If we talk about those
because it's not there.
medals that were there,
Not there because it's
that's why they don't
in the
know what we're talking
OC
about.
area.
Okay, we're going to carry this on at Andrew's suggestion of the September RSO delegates
You've done well.
meeting.
Well, could I ask from an RSO point of view, what does the RSO do in the meantime? Because Auckland's saying that they've run short of time. I reckon we've got a meeting on Monday night to talk about this, and whether we offer those two possible streams. We haven't actually put that out to them yet.
That's accepted at this point in time.
So although you've got the RSO delegates thing to come, you know, we can the RSO itself actually start, you know, continue working on this.
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely.
All
The policies in
this
place.
policy's done is says you're allowed to do this.
Yeah.
But it's up to the RSO
Cut it to
to
6.
decide what we want.
It's a box. If the 5 RSOs wants to play in different corners of a box, I know there's only 4 corners of a box.
How you set up your box.
But the key thing is we are all playing on the same fields. How hard, how slow, how big, how small you want to get, totally dependent on the RSO itself. We literally just define where you guys can play. That is where it is fair.
But the playing field we own is nationals.
That's exactly.
When it comes to nationals where those programs will accumulate, that's the tricky bit.
But why do you think this will get more participation from schools at national?
Well, it won't hurt trying because we ain't getting any at the minute. So
Well, we had
the biggest thing I've just
I think,
looked at
from Auckland.
To be fair, as Mary said, there are some teams that thought this was a ticky sport as far as it was just tiddlywinks that have left because they couldn't train all year round. So that's a fact. But then on the other side, there is schools which are entry level, which it really does work for them term one. So there is both ends of the spectrum we're dealing with, and definitely it has been heard that there's people in Caleb's ear all the time saying, I want to train today, but I can't. This is a restriction we shouldn't have, that other sports don't have.
And arguably it's driving this pedals to other sports, right?
We're one of 245 sports within secondary school jurisdiction. So we are fighting for the same amount of people that every other school sport are fighting for. And the restrictions to some just, okay, sweet, gone. So it's about being all encompassing. Fear is, you know, we'll cross that bridge eventually, but it's about getting the people in the door.
Yep.
Once they're in the door, sweet. But until that point, we've tried everything else. This is just something now on paper to try something different because they are the future of the sport. Secondary school sports are the future of our sport. We are an aging sport if we do not sort this out. With our kids, like I think our youngest crew, adult crew, would be Wahine Tō by far. And
So we're pretty much senior
Have
aid,
any
and
thoughts
that
around
was the
how
senior
to
business.
transition from secondary school into adults?
when it's bulk, the more people you have,
That's the
the
biggest
more
challenge.
turnover you're going to get.
But
The more loss you're going to get, but the more turnover you'll get.
I'll capture that piece as far as the piece that Caleb's been particularly focused on is schools. So also as a strategic initiative, this coming season is schools. Forget transition, because we're focusing, honing completely on schools. Transition, totally different problem.
That'll
So
naturally.
scale the schools is our primary objective for NZDBA for that target. When we've got heaps of schools, then we can go, can we get 10% of these guys to come to the adults? And then that's gravy. Get 10% of 10 teams, no way. 10% of 30, 40 teams, hey, now we're talking. So that's in our strategic plan. This is here and now for this year. We're looking 2 or 3 years out before we start talking that topic, Alicia.
Like competitiveness and fairness of racing never came into the conversation. It was always about how do we protect the future of the sport, which secondary school Sport New Zealand and Sport New Zealand are quite like, well, that's not a stupid area to start.
Feedback heard.
And I just wanted to say, I think that, you know, I think everybody's seen what's been happening at an Olympic level with competitiveness and how much pressure that puts on, and the emphasis coming back to participation and dare I say it, that word kindness. So not attacking each other is not the way to grow this sport. I mean, attacking each other is not the way to grow this sport.
There was no attack there. It was a request for information, but
I'm just saying, Chris.
Yep.
there was no names mentioned.
Yep.
Saying. Take note,
Okay.
everyone.
Something is, I don't know the history of this, but I've had children who've done dragon boating, and I'm from OPC, and we're trying to encourage these young ones to move to our club. If we're restricting it to that 5 weeks, you're only going to get year 13s who are going to lose interest over the winter. I think letting them train in before Christmas is a great idea, because then we can take those girls or boys or whatever and we can move them into our club to continue. But I think the loss of interest during that winter season for kids is huge. We're better off to grab them while we can, and I think keeping them interested when they want to do it is a great idea.
So keen to talk to you about the model that we've tried several times and exactly that, but probably offline.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just saying that because we have actually managed to grab some girls to come to our team who were year 13s and don't have the opportunity to paddle.
And that was exactly the comment that School Sport NZ made, that to start in term 4 was the way to capture them.
Yeah.
That was what they said, because it's a summer sport. That was their comment around participation.
And our schools are going, don't dare touch term 4 because we're all about academia.
Yep.
And don't go in term 4 because you're distracting our kids with sport, where our schools are focused on passing exams. So that's the problem.
That's just sort of
right.
Lower decile areas.
And also the encouraging is actually from year 11. So you get them back in 12, back in 13. So it's a multi-year program. You're not only doing 5 weeks. If you're a student, you're moving through the program. You're actually, we target the kids in year 11 to move through.
Yeah, I was just curious because we've sort of gone to 70 paddlers this year because we grabbed the schools when we could.
I'm going to suggest that we curtail this conversation now, that we move back to the reports. The question that you've raised, Alicia, that stemmed from Caleb's report potentially doesn't impact on the validity of his report or the accuracy of it. So good point to pick up on, though, and thank you for the discussion, which has been quite vigorous. Are there any other questions from those reports? Rick?
Yes, in the notes it said that the coaching manual would be out for the AGM. And when do you think it'll be ready to go?
The only thing that needs to happen to it is have pictures, but I took it to be accepted and then took how many pictures need to be put in.
Because I think that will help with our growth as well once that comes through.
It's there. If you don't need pictures, I can give it to you.
That'd be great. Are you planning
in theory,
to hold classes for the courses? Or
I wasn't listening one. Yeah, it'll be something similar to what Evan did with the 2K. It'll just be a matter of timing.
Yeah. When do
Probably.
you think that would be likely to roll out? Because as the gentleman at the far end said, it would really help with growth. So the moment we're doing the big thing of, hey, we really needed a dozen new coaches, having a coaching pathway would really enable them to step up.
I'm not putting pictures.
I said that at the last.
We can get it done for the start of the season, 1st of September.
Yeah.
The manual's ready, the content is there.
And obviously, Alicia, going forward, once we start to consolidate our coaching courses, the off-season presents itself as the ideal time to start and run those sort of things, so that we've got coaches feeling confident when the season starts.
Yeah, that'd be
End of the
great.
month. End of the month. By the 1st of September, you'll have it.
Is that the manual that would have all the classes?
Not the classes, the program,
The program.
the manual,
Okay.
coaching.
Just the
It's an
draft.
awesome facility.
Version 1.0.
Awesome bit of
That's just
content.
level 1, or have you got the whole level 1 through to?
You'll have to wait till the 1st of September. Level 1. It's level 1, isn't it?
No, it's not a level 1, it's version 1, isn't it?
It's version 1.
It's a version 1.
But it only covers up to level 1. It doesn't go beyond level 1.
Basic.
So
It's
yes,
an introduction.
basics.
It's the introduction.
Yeah. It's 101. Coaching 101.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Another question.
Yes, go ahead,
If
please.
I may.
Yep.
Question for Caleb.
Yeah.
On the in your report, you said that there was not having the OC involved in helping with Aoraki in the South Island Champs was a missed opportunity.
Oh, no. It was,
You just explain
yeah,
that to me.
it was Jaden, because we knew Jaden was coming back. It was a missed opportunity to get him on the water with us.
Right.
And really, because of information, there's how much information is in your head, how much information is in Pete's, Noel's, Steve-O's. Passing that on, there was quite a big opportunity, I feel, and I think Phil is agreeing in this, that we missed, which obviously it can happen this year, but it's a step that we potentially missed with nationals this year.
Yeah. I thought having the 2K course further down, apart from the 500 and 200 course, that was really good. That was really good.
Yeah.
I'll take that one, thanks.
Yeah, that was a good suggestion that was raised.
So much.
Biggest turn boys in the world.
Size matters. And they have been commented on quite profusely from
Just the aiming
overseas.
point for the sweeps.
Absolutely. But no, certainly the idea of having the 2K course separate did mean that there was less interruptions, whether we did the 2K first or second.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, so thank you for that feedback.
I think we were
Do you think?
I've got one more question, if I may.
Yes, Rick?
Well, it's more of a statement.
Yep.
Just around the nationals, like, I thought the nationals was really good. There's no doubt about that. But, after the event, all the backslapping and self-congratulation by the OC, there was it was disappointing, actually, that there's been no acknowledgement of Aoraki's contribution to the event.
Okay, there were emails
We
sent.
used all of our equipment, we used some of our knowledge and our advice, and we helped on the event, but it never really came out that, we were a contributor to the event in anything. Well, none of the reports today anyway.
Okay. Thank you, Rick. Noted.
Thank you.
Yeah. Apologies if you felt that was insufficiently noted.
That's all I've got to say about that.
Thank you.
I would like to just have it tabled that we did send acknowledgement letters to the individuals from the Aoraki board that were involved, and to the board as well to thank those, to the Aoraki board to thank those people. So acknowledgement did come from myself as the chair of the OC to those individuals, and I will second Evan's apology that we maybe omitted to report it here. But I will acknowledge certainly the contribution of Aoraki, the use of their equipment, and the members that we engaged with to pull nationals together.
Any further questions regarding the reports that have been tabled? We do have one other report that Noel had inadvertently not pushed the send button on his email system. And Noel, I'd like to give you the opportunity to speak to that if you would like.
Well, I mean, we can circulate it if you like. I'll circulate this to the emails as well afterwards. But it was basically talking about the race officials development accreditation group and reflecting over what had been done there. So to summarise some of the things that some of the improvements that group was able to push through. There's talk of the rules of racing and the effort that went through to go that line by line, word by word, to get that into a better state. It meant that our racing can be run a little bit better. And there was also some work in the background of improving the way that things were done on the starter process and the umpiring of the turns. Another part that we recognise that the Australians wouldn't be here to help us as race officials, so a key thing that we were looking at was improving the way we could enable New Zealanders to step up to that. So we now have a set of calling them standard operating procedures or role descriptions for some of the key roles, including crew marshalling, boat loader, race starter, and water umpire that is used at national levels and we would expect them actually to be used at the RSO regional levels as well. Where appropriate, we have those sort of people in those positions. One of the things that we did as well was to run some online training of it, really. It was in a two-stage process where it was kind of training, but it was more about briefing on what was going to happen in the event. I think that worked really well. We were able to have a Zoom meeting. When I send this out, there's a link to the YouTube clip that you can watch of that. It's about an hour or so long meeting. Say no. I had a look at it last night. It was pretty good because it was very matter of fact. So it told you what the race layout was like, where you're going to be positioned, how you would interact with it, and so that, along with the information that we could look at as race officials, I think our guys went into it with a lot more confidence. And behind the scenes, the way it was delivered was a whole lot better. The way that it worked in with the work that, for example, Evan did with talking to the sweeps about how things would happen on the 2K and things like that. It resulted in us having really no protests. The debrief afterwards was, first of all, it was great that we had a debrief amongst the race officials. We've got our learnings, and we were able to talk through some of those sort of issues there. So these are great improvements to the infrastructure that we've got, and it's bringing us up to a world standard. I think in the way that we've done it, even in our first year, has been really good. So the online Teams meeting with everyone interacting was great, and also the night before Nationals, having that last minute, okay, this is what it looks like with a drone flying over, everybody clear on what we're doing, who's talking to who. I think put everybody in a good space, and then that was followed immediately by the managers meeting, so they got it kind of that same flavour as well. The rotor, we'll take some credit for Chris doing a great job at Nationals as the chief official and running things pretty smoothly there. There was some opportunity for OJT of those officials. It's something that we'll develop a little bit more. We've now looked at all of the race officials that performed at that, and we can now, say that they are can take credit for a tick in the box for performing very well at that event. We've had people like Terry Hardwick takes a lot of credit for the hard work that he's done in running the finish line, and the exceptional work that Pete Mitchell has done in developing the race straw that got us running on the day. There are some areas that we will still be pushing on. It's got a little quiet lately with some of that sort of work that we're doing, but it's kind of intentional because the focus has shifted really for us towards the digitisation work that we're doing. So this report is kind of reporting on those two roles that I'm doing, heading up the rotor system and also the digitisation program that we're working on. It's a project where we're working on a way of teams being able to interface with inputting their teams, putting their photo IDs up. We can look at the history of everybody in the sport, what events they're at and things like that. It'll give a good platform that we can look at the participants, the teams, and the events. So our focus has been particularly on getting a process where we can have a robust system around that finish line so that we know the race draw goes into the finish line cameras, the results come out, and hopefully we can deliver that online, to paddlers and to everybody at the event. So still some more work to do on that with probably testing before Nationals. I'm hoping, that maybe at Araki we could be in a position where we could test that with a Finish Links camera. So I'll circulate this after the meeting. I've got hard copies here if you did want to look at it at the moment. Okay, that's where we're at.
No. I've got one little point about the system. So just the digitising piece, it's a product, the products that we've been looking at is very orientated around Nationals, but the conversation has evolved into an all of sport product. This product that we're tunneling in on is a product called Revolution Sport at the moment. It's advised by Australia. We have had several meetings with AusDBF, with the vendor, and we are blown away by the functionality. It is very significant functionality to allow you to manage where your boats are, who your people are at national, regional, and team level. So it's a very comprehensive product. Where we're at the moment is product testing, just at a testing phase where some people have got test logins to do it. The next phase is to roll it a little bit wider to subject matter experts that are currently doing our data entry, and possibly some teams to kind of do some of theirs, and then work on commercials with the actual vendor as to how much this is going to cost and all of that side of things. But early view is it's an exceptional product, and the questions we asked, the people have written it are geeks like us about sport. The things that we're asking, that it's quite intuitive to actually see. So it will allow things like iPads at the crew marshalling. It will allow results to on your mobile. So those things that will just lift the level of nationals completely, but also enter your paddler details once in the season, and it cascades through to those events. So you're not having to do so much data entry as a manager as much. So awesome wins on a lot of different fronts, but watch this space. We will be in touch with the RSOs and eventually the teams very, very shortly.
Yeah, and we're moving quite at pace with this. So I was in Australia in May and was a part of this, using the whole program, and came back and we've talked about it quite a lot, and we've moved quite quickly with it. Rev Sport I'm the least geek of the lot of them. I have no idea of the geekiness, but I understand what is needed. And that's kind of been the foil in terms of these guys. So I'm happy to ask the dumb questions. And these guys have come up with really good answers to everything that we've asked. And AusDBF has been working with the program for a while now and has tweaked and developed as they've gone along. And there are two parts to it, where it has a regatta and an event in the regatta, and they're not necessarily talk to each other that well, but we're working around how that can happen. They can produce a race draw and progressions and all that kind of thing. So there'll be some tweaks that we would like. So and my suggestion, Rick, was that we try it at the next at an Aoraki regatta to see how it works, and you know, anything we can learn from that. So hopefully there's an opportunity to do that.
And we'll be doing it in Auckland as well, as far as just doing mocks and then desktop activity that Noel will probably run around a desktop regatta to try and do that, which means we fake it, we build a regatta and we do some stuff. But it is an elephant. The only way to eat an elephant is piece by piece, because there's actually an online merchandising component. There's a whole bunch to this thing that is awesome, but also it doesn't limit your individuality as far as the RSO has a level. NSO, RSO, and even the team clubs and teams can have your own pages, can have your own customization, but it means all of us don't have to have our own sporty accounts. We don't have to have our own stuff, but you get to still have a flavour that is your team or your club.
And I think the other thing, Chris, to add is the knock and ice information was really comprehensive. One of the things that I experienced was particularly with breast cancer survivors, obviously, and standing people down and that kind of thing. So it is a very comprehensive tool, but again, that comes back to how much data you want to input. And then the other thing that was really important was the security around that data. So only, certain people having access and so on.
So watch this space. Demos will go out as far as invitations to walk through the product, etc., in the coming months. Thank you, Evan.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you, Noel. So would someone like to move then that
just
we...
Before you do, Noel, can I just ask a question around one of the equipment reports? Is that all right?
Yeah, go, Bill.
I was just curious about the new design for the Black Dragons. I'm interested. I'm excited.
One moment.
An overview of how this is done or what's in it.
Yeah, hold your excitement till general business.
Very good.
I'll wait till the end of the meeting.
Thanks, Bill.
And thank you for noting that repair that was done on the lane roads.
No worries.
Wasn't aware there was a motor or a remote, so thank you for letting me know.
Just trying to find out where the dates are and we'll flick that through.
Yeah.
Okay, so would someone like to move that those reports be accepted, please?
I will.
Andrew has moved. Do we have a seconder?
Second that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Me.
Toss up. Close.
Sorry, was that Steve for seconding?
Yeah.
Me. Oh.
Is that close?
Whoever.
Steve, we'll put Steve's name there.
Got a photo finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will.
Yes, we will.
Finish links on this one.
So the next item on our agenda was regarding the Board of Management people whose terms were up. The 4 people who were affected by that have all indicated they're prepared to stand again as board of members for the next 2 years. And we've had no nominations from anybody else from outside the community and the board. So effectively, we're losing 4 and the 4 are restanding. So we have no need to ask for any members to bulk the numbers. So effectively, those 4 members would be re-elected unopposed. As is customary, the first meeting that the board has, we all have a chance to review what we've been doing currently. Some people might like to have a change of the sort of work that they're involved in, and that's something that always gets sorted the first meeting that we have together as a new board.
Can I just actually, we actually do need to put a motion forward here because it was not because it was interim, so we actually have to do that.
Good.
So sorry, I was just looking at the names there. We actually, Janice, we appointed Janice as interim treasurer mid-year. So actually she hasn't been officially elected into that role. So if I may put forth a motion to elect Janice Melville in the role of treasurer for the upcoming year.
Term.
2 years, yes, upcoming.
Is secretary, treasurer and chairman decided at this meeting? Or is it as you
That's just
before, it's at
Janice is not officially elected, so this is just acknowledging that she's becoming official.
board
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
into the position? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I'll redo that. So a motion to elect Janice Melville to the board for a term of 2 years. Please and thank you.
You've already accepted.
Second.
Thank
You ate the cake, you drank the coffee.
So who-
Okay.
So you moved it.
Yeah, and- oh, Alicia seconded, okay.
Thanks, Alicia.
Okay, so you can now continue, sorry.
Okay, so we're moving on to point 6, which is the financial report. Just a question that you were asked, Alicia, regarding the earlier from previous years. Jenny Culver did quite a bit of work to tidy those previous years up, and the Tier 3 accounts were sent out to the RSOs on the 22nd of the 10th, 2020, if you want to search back for those. And they were for the 2017 and 18 and 2018 and 19 years. So that was the 22nd of the 10th, 2020, that Jenny's account, or Jenny sent those accounts out to RSOs.
Oh, I sent them out on behalf of Brooke.
On Brooke, sorry, on behalf of Jenny.
So yes, your question about have we done anything about the past 2 years' accounts? Yes, and you have received a copy.
Was there much adjustment needed? I remember.
What for Jenny?
No, she redid them, but in terms of the outcome was the same.
Right.
It was the way that they were reported that was altered. And she then, I think, did a GST correction.
Yes.
We'd actually overpaid GST. So there was no.
Huge effort for her to reconcile, but in the end, the bookkeeping was done, but just presentation and collation was the bit that was required.
And that difference between accruals and
Current
current accounts.
The other
Yeah.
piece that we've moved forward with is that, not to steal your thunder, but it was Jenny's piece, is the accounts are now in Xero.
Oh,
So
yes.
they are all managed now within Xero, and that's the tool that has been moved to. So going forward, we've got that consistent product to actually do it, rather than some people bookkeeping, some people accounting, and some people, it's the Xero way now.
Yeah.
Xero way.
The Xero way, which I have to try and get up to speed with because I hadn't used Xero before, so we're getting there. I only took over in April, so it's been a lot to sort of get up to speed with as well, with the accounts. So they're going to be audited. There's a lot of information that the auditor requires, which I actually don't have at the moment. So I need to get that, but I've put this together for them. I can just go through.
Can you put that up on the screen at all? I did send the copy out to the RSOs and to Bill, but I don't think the rest of those Zoom guests would have had a copy.
I can put them on this screen, but
Did you get the copy on the email?
so
You just have to realise with the differences between 2020 and 2021, nationals were cancelled in 2020.
Yeah.
So
Thanks
that's
for reminding us.
sorry. So that's the difference in your figures and your income and your expenditure.
Other expenses is the biggest number in those.
Yeah, what other expenses covers is the cost of actually buying in the boats and the pedals, the merchandise, and some sundry costs of the boats and pedal purchases is 72,300 of that, merchandise 22.5, and then sundry costs of about 13, and that's your
108.
yeah, that's what makes up the 108.
This was generated from Xero, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so everything in Xero has to be coded, and Brock has to, with the invoice out of Xero, when the payments come in, I've got to reconcile it. Then any payments that we make, I've actually meant to, I think, raise an invoice first before it's paid, and that everything's reconciled.
So on that first page, at the bottom of the expenses, it says total assets. Would that not be total expenses?
Yes.
Yes, it should be.
Yep.
Good pickup. Total expenses.
can you guys in the rest of the country see the document I've got up now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Is the date at the top supposed to be
Oh.
30
Oh,
June
31.
2021?
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't.
No worries.
Yeah.
This is what you get when you trust something that has a brain and you can't see where it keeps it.
Does anybody else want to be treasurer?
No.
Remember this in a year's time if you say yes.
It's quite okay to have 10% spillage.
Oh, good.
Even 20% doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's something, when you're looking at something so many
The date on
times.
this page is right.
Yeah, it's actually
Yeah, no,
following
it's only, it's only on the first page. It's all right.
Yeah,
Even-
Not as many
It's like it was
pages.
included from
It's
purpose,
It's
so
on
people read
purpose,
it.
yeah,
kind of figured it was.
What you get
Yeah.
with trusting computers to auto generate things.
yeah. When you're looking at something so many times.
So I'm guessing that all assets that were purchased, like the boats and the paddles and everything else, have been on sold, and it was just a throughput.
Yes,
Yeah, we don't hold any of those.
no,
Thank you.
The inventory figures shown separately.
yeah.
Okay, so do we have a timeline for the auditing?
They're actually really busy, so they're talking, I think 10 to 12 weeks. So,
And just, once we got the accounts, we did approach an auditor, just so everyone knows. We did approach an auditor, and that's the answer we got. That's why they haven't been audited yet, but they are with the auditor to happen. So this is what has been submitted to the auditor.
The first auditor said no show,
yeah,
Not at all.
try March next year. And that's through a bigger firm, and then they referred us to another firm.
yeah,
And they said it would be at least that 10 to 12 weeks.
yeah. I think everybody's, getting their accounts audited, and it's just how long it
Rules have
takes.
changed.
Yeah,
How much
So
do we
we-
charge you guys?
yeah, we can distribute them once. Yeah, it's a full audit, and, how long's a piece of string? There's no actual, it's no,
Full park's usually about $3,000.
yeah.
Was there a question around how much is it costing us?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The hardest challenge has been to find one that will accept.
yeah,
The general, from the original accountants that we spoke to, who know us and know the business, said you're looking at about 2.5. But if there's anything that they need to go back through or whatever, then it can end up more. And they also said that, it's not essential to have them audited every year. And in fact, they said, okay, we don't need to because of the level of revenue, et cetera, but we felt it was good to have a stake in the ground at this point in time. And then,
Especially as there had been some questions asked in the last couple of years, we felt that we owed it to our membership to be above board and just cop the cost, to prove that, things are on track again.
And to give Janice a nice level playing field to start from.
yeah.
One of the other organisations I'm involved with, we only do a full audit every 3 years. But they do like I'm not sure what they look at, but they do like a half audit. Look at different things in the other 2 years. Then full audit every 3 years. So could be an option.
My body corps does the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But certainly as soon as they've been done and we've received them back, we'll send them out to
We could probably close
the RSOs.
Can I just ask, is there anything earmarked in the cash that's held in your bank accounts and cash? Has any of that been earmarked to be anything over the next year? Any big purchases or anything like that?
Not yet. We plan to have we have kicked off our strategic planning for the coming 3 years last month, the month prior. But our first meeting back will be dedicated to strategic planning, and that's our opportunity to help with that earmarking. So we felt that it wasn't the right time to really lock that stuff in case we had changes on the board, that it would be best to do that for the coming year.
and the first big purchase will be the Rev Sport product.
Yeah.
And it could even be little plugins for that. Might even be looking at, finish cameras and stuff like that. Who knows?
Good point. Yeah.
Are we able to say what amount the Rev Sport product is going to cost?
Not at this point.
No, but
There are some.
indication was that around the 5 to 10 grand mark, 5 to 7 grand mark, but it's basically what pieces do you want added on? So that's why it's vague. because they haven't assessed, we haven't got into formal negotiations yet. So it's.
When I was just looking if it was 20 or 30, if it was 5 or 10, that's all.
And I'm pleasantly surprised that it wasn't over 10. But should it be beneficial to the sport as far as things like we may go out and buy iPads, we may go out and do things like that, the value of what does that do for our event will be measured, just like it is for nationals going, we're going to use this product, not that product. You know, if it adds value to the event, that's something that we will consider through the process.
And is that something that the NZDBA would looking at purchasing for all regions, or is that something the NZDBA purchases and then all the regions have to purchase as well?
Great question.
One of the discussions we'd have, because, you know, I seeing what it can do and seeing it in action at a club level through to the Dragon Boat Queensland and how they were operating the system. You know, I felt that maybe there could be, and that's something that will be discussed, that NZDBA certainly assists with that rollout in terms of financial assistance. But I guess you'd have to look at it overall, what it looks like in terms of taking it regionally, what that costs.
It's just something to help us plan for future, right? If we're going to look at doing this for the next year and we want to be supportive of whatever the rest of the country does, we just need to be able to help plan.
And in that first year, we have had discussion on us front footing that and then working out ongoing the operational cost, what we do with it after. So the capital cost of the initial project is we're working through that, but it's yet to be defined as to, you know, of onboarding the product. Later, it would likely trickle through to fees and be done that way as a collated sport. But don't quote me on that. That's just an idea of how that works in other sports.
Yeah, we haven't really, to be honest, really explored the minute detail, Bill. Just looking at the big picture and realising that there's going to be a cost and that there should be, I guess, some level of assistance is probably, as I know you could drive a truck through that statement, but no, that's probably where it's at.
Realistically, there could be a surcharge on equipment or something like that that ends up paying the fee or something. We haven't explored what that is yet.
No problem. Thank you.
No equipment clothing. Move it.
All righty.
Should I move or do you want to move that?
Oh, you can't actually.
There's
These are
nothing
not
to do.
accounts. You can't accept.
Well, the report, the treasurer's reporting.
So long as they're not accounts.
Table something.
Move that it's accepted.
Whatever it is.
Just treasurer's
Provisional,
report.
treasurer's report's accepted.
Yes.
Yep.
Seconded, Rick.
Good work, interim
Well done.
treasurer.
And welcome.
When you get the date right, it'll be perfect.
Ricky.
Throw it at him.
Oh, okay.
Just make sure it doesn't leave a mark.
Oh, this is true.
Great job.
Where's your number? Communication.
Shut up.
Where's your comms?
Shut up, Alicia, shut up.
Glass houses, eh?
Lovely report, Jen.
Awesome.
All right. So, moving on. Our next point, were there any motions to be considered? And unlike last year, we've nothing that is being tabled either by the board or from our community. So we've got nothing effectively to vote on. Takes us through to general business. Bill, are you there? Are you listening?
I'm here, my friend. I'm ready.
All right. So Mary's been working pretty hard on our branding and what that's going to look like. She's got something here for us to look at, and a better copy probably for you to be able to visualise will come online.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mary.
Yeah, so, okay, we did had a look at NZDBA, and it kind of started around the fact that we were doing a few ad hoc things here and there, and particularly, I guess, when we went to Thailand in 2019, we quickly cobbled something together to have as a Black Dragons uniform and our brand and so on. And then we looked at how everything worked within the organisation, and we didn't have anything that said you must use X font, X colour, X blah blah blah, all of those things. And so went to work and did some work on that. And what we were picking up was that everybody loves the black. You know, black is so synonymous. And if you look at what's happened with our Olympic squad, it's just black and white. It wasn't very inventive. I wish I'd been able to be let loose on it. But so we've been incorporating a lot of teal into our product, and so that is what we have come up with, and I'll show it here in the room, and you probably
Brooke's got the ability to put some stuff.
Do you want Noel to open up that file?
Yeah, I've sent you that full file, haven't I? Okay.
So Noel, I'm going to send you an email.
And we didn't want to share this because we prior to today, and the full board haven't seen the final product either. We've certainly worked through and picked designs and so on. So,
oh, I got it now. Just find it. What have I done with it? One moment, caller.
Gmail.
I just had it this morning, so you know. There we go. Got it. Got it. What do you want it? What do you want it sent to?
Just waiting for a drum roll or something, you know.
Bill's sitting over there. I can just picture his knuckles are white.
He's probably wet himself.
He's got his credit card ready to
He's
go.
going to get a new tattoo just to be able to, you know, blend in with it.
On his face.
I can't deal with your 2,376 emails not open.
Deal with it. Good on you, mate. Deal with it. Organised
There's a
chaos.
chance that some of them are yours, Brooke.
More than likely. Like, touche.
Busted.
Look at
There we
mine.
go.
0 or 4. So if you click on the if you click on this, no, go to the top. That red thing. Go to the bottom.
go down to 12 files.
Go down to the bottom. And go view all files.
Yeah.
Organised chaos.
And then it should. Oh,
Oh,
no.
Brooke, there's
Yeah,
some
that's
teal earphones on Alicia.
Well, I think that's supposed to be white, to be honest.
Baby blue.
What?
Yeah, no, but it's the blue on there.
Coming through as baby blue.
Right.
That's not really
See that?
50 Shades of Blue.
So start in that blue one over there.
On the right.
That one, yeah, that's the first one.
Can you see that, rest of the world?
No, yeah.
Yes, we can.
Calm down. Calm down, Bill.
Someone get that man a tranquilizer.
So probably one of the first questions that will come up will be about the kōwhaiwhai. So the banner on the left, that is part of it, but the bulk of it is this white piece at the bottom. So we had conversations with the kaumātua. We didn't want to go with any particular tribe or affiliation. And the conversation that we had was, it's your sport, you develop something for you. So we wanted to implement the waves and a wave action, and you can see this coming through on the white kōwhaiwhai on the bottom there, and acknowledge our connectivity with iwi without saying we are X tribe, we're NZDBA tribe. And so this is our own branding developed for us. Okay, so there you'll see the turquoise coming through, and this will be in every element throughout the branding. You'll also see that it says NZDBA DragonBoatNZ. So we had a discussion about this at board level, that when you look at other sports, so it's Rugby New Zealand or New Zealand Netball or dare we say Cycling NZ or Rowing NZ or whatever it may be. So we've decided that NZDBA is still the organisation. We're just just not going to use the word association. And so the logo is there. That's the logo, DragonBoatNZ. And if you want to flip to the next one.
Oh, no, you need to go back and then click on 2.
Yeah, that way, yeah.
I just did that on mine.
Okay, so you'll see there our logo. So you've got the standard logo, which is on the left there, and then whether it's on black or white, or you drop out the colour depending on what it's worked on. And on the right, just for the crest, we'll have NZDBA. You drop down to the next one.
You wouldn't go just DragonBoatNZ over there, would you? No, not.
Follow through. So I have it there. Okay, in the taglines, you'll see it there. So Dragon Boating.
Keep driving the computer now.
Yeah. Next, yeah. So this is the colours, the Pantone colours. So it's the turquoise, the silver, the black, the white, and then the fonts, the various fonts against the different things. And you'll see that come through a little bit more as we go through. So that provides a guideline, a direct guideline for anything, say Brooke's doing as secretary or Evan or whatever. What you're seeing now is a business card. We've never had one. We've gone with a generic look. The one on the left is for international. We felt it was really important to have the ko-fi there, to have that very international look. And the one on the right can be local, or you can just have the one. So we've got two options in terms of what can be used. And you'll see there that it's got secretary at, it's now eating.
I'm hungry, I'm sorry. I haven't had breakfast.
Post office address, our Facebook page and our Instagram page, and that's all we have on it. So that you're not producing hundreds of them for chair or blah, blah, blah. You use the one, they have the one point of contact and it comes into secretary at, and so that we can then monitor all correspondence or whatever comes in. Next. So again, letterhead. So the letterhead is the one on the left with the ko-fi now in the turquoise, and then the follow-on page is the one on the right, where you can see the blue, the turquoise down each side, or this will be for policy documents or whatever. So we've got that same consistency going through. That's the sign-off on emails. So we've adopted Brooke's happy paddling. Everyone seems to love that.
I hate it.
Why do you put it on your emails?
Because I had to put something different than the previous section.
And then we've got there. So those are your icons for Facebook and for Insta.
Stay magical.
Next. Okay. So then, okay, that's just to show what it can look like on print material. So here we come to the garment expression. So this would be used for both board and black dragons. So the main piece, and if you flip to the next one, then so those pieces go on the garment in various ways. So you can see it there on the, that's the board shirt. So the top would be a T-shirt if you're working on site or doing something and you don't want to wear your number ones, which would be in the bottom left-hand corner. And then there's a hoodie and a jacket and that sort of thing. So again, none of those T-shirts or hoodies or whatever are set in stone. This is just to give you an idea of the concept. So this is, when it says crew, this is black dragons. So underneath the crest, it will have black dragons. And on the sleeve, it would have the year or whatever event you're at. So that you've got something that isn't so dated like we had for Thailand with a big thing across the back and the front. Yeah.
And they got dirty.
And they got dirty. It was hot though. And next. So this then shows you using that branding on other elements. So a drink bottle, branding, and then the volunteer T-shirt there. This is the new visual for the Black Dragons paddle.
Yeah.
And then that just tells you what we would use. So this is the full style guide. So around the site, we're looking at putting up scrim where all the fencing is. So again, to professionalise it, and this is what that scrim will look like. You can have it in a 1 metre width by a 2 metre height or a 1 metre by 1 metre. So it's the pattern repeat. So again, all of this now is ready for anyone doing any work for us. So if we want to have our logo or design on blah, 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 it's immediately ready to go. We've got all the elements of that, the garment expression, the product expression, etc., etc. And I think that might be it.
I like this. We've got 4 lanes of racing and we've got a bit of lake riding here. Nice license.
So if we move to 8 lanes of racing, we'll just repeat it twice. There's your 8 lanes.
Oh, it's beautiful work, Mary. Beautiful.
I think that might be another one as well. That might back
I
page.
think we need one for a sweep or design.
So I mean,
Yeah.
the same as the paddle. Then the other thing, so that's it really. So we now have everything written. It's in I've got a big document here, folder with all that in there. So whoever picks any element up, they, so if you wanted your boats or whatever branded, then all this imagery can come across. So it's all there. If I get hit by a bus, you don't need to worry. You just pick this folder up and you're ready to go.
Oh, thank goodness for that.
A couple of those.
Yeah. The other thing that we have also done, which I haven't sent there, is design a specific medal for schools. So if you want to pass that round, and I haven't, no, it's not in there.
Schools.
Brooke might have it.
Medal or?
Loving the designs, Mary. Awesome work. Nicely done.
It's probably well overdue, but I think it's a sign of growth and maturity to do that.
Very
Mary,
beautiful.
what made you pick the teal? Is it through the like we have teal racing at horse races?
Pretty.
The women in teal beating is one of the other cancers.
No, it's basically when we developed this new-ish shirt, it had the teal elements in it, and we just really liked it and said that's working really well. It's nice to add, not just black and white, and everyone wants black as a...
I think it was sponsorship by Airways, actually.
Yeah. And the black cap's got teal.
Good colour, good colour.
Yeah,
It ties it nicely with the
Changed, don't they?
women in racing.
I don't know what I've done with that schools medal.
I think it's ovarian cancer.
Oh, is it?
Okay. I'm not sure, but yeah.
It's very similar to our new polar bear branding as well. So we'll be sisters.
Thank you, Mary.
Yeah.
Are there any other items for general business, please?
Can I just make a couple of call outs from just going through? We've been doing our funding rounds at the moment, and I had a couple of phone calls from funders in the last couple of days that picked up something that I picked up earlier on, was that the links on the NZDBA websites are going to deregistered charities rather than the current charity. Can we have those repaired, because they've said, oh, are you actually registered to a deregistered charity?
Could you just tell me which link that is?
So it's linked to the charities, what is it, CC 44965. It's under the NZDBA charities one, and it goes to the original NZDBA, which was then deregistered for not filing annual returns. And so it needs to be done to the latest one, which was the 2018. So that's just an update. And
Thanks, Bill. That's an important one to pick up on.
And the other one was that the NZDBA constitution still hasn't been put up on the Incorporated Societies website. So it still states back to the old one.
No, I've submitted that already. When it was approved in August, it was sent to charities and uploaded.
Charities still state that it's the 2018 version.
They've absolutely had the new copy. So, yep.
Cool. Thank you.
Can you just tell me which part, when you're saying the charities, I can't seem to find that on the website, which tab?
The front page has got its.
I know it is.
I'll just,
It's under the registration.
Well, just the front page has the charities.
so that's not our number?
So your old number was CC 44965. The new one should be CC 54552.
Yeah, I've got that on the home page. Is there another link somewhere?
There was. I'm just looking for it.
How long ago was this?
It's in the document.
I got called a couple of days ago. They looked at it last week.
Charitable entity, maybe it's that one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
it's a certificate. I see. Yep, I've got that. Thanks, Bill.
Cool, thank you.
We'll just deactivate that for a minute. Charitable entity.
Anything else from anybody on the floor, general business? If not, then that would conclude our AGM.
Quicker than last year. Quicker than last year.
That's the right number.
It's the usual.
Yeah, I've just done that.
Can you get a good nightmare later?
Okay,
On the new document.
thank you very much for your attendance.
Thank you.
Thank
See you, everyone.
Bye, Lisa.
Bye.
Stop recording now.